Good afternoon, everybody. I think we'll get started now. We gave a couple of minutes at the start to allow people to join. And so welcome to the webinar for today. And the webinar is Automate Content Management, Empower Your Team. So my name is Nick Jones. I'm the Chief Information and Technology Officer for Konica Minolta ANZ. And we're really happy to host you here today. We have some fantastic guests that we'll get to in a second. So here at Konica Minolta Solutions, we're constantly challenging ourselves, our customers and the market to rethink what is possible and how to use data to do better business and to do it more effectively. And in a more broad sense, how to really manage information within an organization. So we're really proud to be one of a select few OpenText partners in this region. Today, in conjunction with OpenText, we'll be asking you to rethink your interaction with your organization's information and content. So as I said earlier, we have some fantastic guests today. We have Matthias Fischer and we have Nick Vince, both from OpenText. So Matthias is the Asia Pacific Lead Solutions Consultant at OpenText with over 20 years experience in invoice management, extended ECM and archiving. And Nick Vince, who leads the channel and alliance function at OpenText, including Konica Minolta, across Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of Asia Pacific. So thank you both very much for your time. And I'm quickly going to hand over to you two to run through the webinar content for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for attending. As I said, my name is Nick Vince from OpenText. What we're going to do today is take you through our extended ECM solution portfolio, and we have Matthias who's going to be presenting the solution and also a small demonstration around the products as well. Really to give you a flavor around what OpenText does, what the extended ECM suite can do for your organization. And then we'll hand back over to Nick for questions and summary at the end. Matthias is going to drive my slides first off. So first slide, please, Matthias. And next. So as an organization, we see a massive opportunity around information. We were built on storing information, delivering information, and capturing information for organizations across the board. And we work with federal government, state government, through to our key FSI customers in Australia. We have hundreds and hundreds of examples and case studies around where we've worked with organizations, basically to serve up information and give them what they need to be better for their customers, both internally and externally. We see that those that harness the information and derive value from it will ride the next wave of transformation around their own productivity and growth. Data, as you know from your organization, is getting from terabytes into petabytes across organizations today. We allow organizations to capture and do something meaningful with the data. Next slide, please. So we have 5 or 6 key areas of our business, and these all connect into an intelligent information core, which then integrate into a number of different systems within organizations. So we connect into and serve information up from ERP, whether it be SAP, Microsoft, or Oracle. We take information from CRM, whether it's Salesforce, Microsoft, Sugar, whichever flavor an organization wants to use, all the way through to the variety of emails out there, services, and in terms of Internet of Things. And we provide that in an intelligent information core, which then allow our content services platform, business network, analytics, all the way through to development to serve up information for your internal, external customers to use in the best way possible. And we'll go through a little bit in terms of the suite of products that we have. But any-to-any integration is key to be able to derive the value around the information. Next slide, please, Matthias. We as an organization, we are cloud or off cloud. It doesn't matter to us. And we are #1 in terms of enterprise information management. Many of our competitors will be enterprise content management. We go across the full suite. And in a couple of slides time, we can show you what the market thinks about us and our organization and the platforms that we provide to customers out there, large and small. We have now nearly 15,000 employees across the board. We have around 7,500 in Asia Pacific. So we're a sizable organization. And key to our growth is around partners such as Konica Minolta that deliver our licenses, they deliver our services and support across our organizations that we work with today. And it's fantastic for us to be able to go and present with Konica to you and to Konica Minolta customers so that we can start to show the benefits of our solution and the KM services and support to be able to go and give you a better experience around your data today. Next slide, please. So the key areas that we work in that makes up an enterprise information management platform is firstly around our content services, which is what we're most known for. So this will be an ECM equivalent to many of our competitors out there today. And we enable users to work in applications such as SAP and Salesforce, but view information from other areas due to the connectivity that we have in terms of those applications. We allow development around our AppWorks products. We have experience around CM, which is used by our major banks today, utility organizations, to be able to go and deliver your statement information, customer information to you, personalize and deliver as well. We have a security part of our business, so encase and also forensic as well. So that information that we're delivering, we make sure that it's secure, we make sure that it's untouchable from the outside, and also cover those endpoints as well that it's being delivered to. Our business network handles billions of transactions every single day for organizations such as Coca-Cola, for our federal government, for US federal government, and basically is built around B2B. AI and analytics allow you to go and have a look back at data, have a look at trends that could potentially be happening, and that's through a product we acquired called Magellan, which is one of the leading analytics tools and AI tools out there today. And then we also have a legal area which is built on our eDocs and provides legal organizations with a dedicated data management, information management solution for their businesses. Next slide, please. And before handing over to Matthias, this is what the market says about us. You know, where we are leaders, where we are visionary, and where we are strong performers around the whole suite of products. You will not find other solutions that are as broad and are as rated as highly across so many different areas of the business and the software that we go and provide. And this gives you an assurance that when you invest in OpenText and invest in the services and implementation from Konica Minolta, you are investing in the #1 enterprise information management solution globally, no matter which flavor you take down, whether it's the Salesforce, whether it's SAP, Microsoft, whichever area it is. With that, I'd like to hand over to Matthias, who's going to take you through our extended ECM offering and where we can go and help businesses large and small. Thanks, Matthias.
Thank you, Nick. Hello, everybody. What I would like to talk about today is pretty much content management. That's what you can call it. Nick has already mentioned earlier several times actually about our content services, which is our probably most important and area that we focus on, and also that's going to be the area that I will be focusing on today. So let's talk a little bit about what do we actually mean by content and what's the problem with content. So content is really all the documents that you have in regards to any transaction with customers or vendors, all the emails, all the contracts, all the statements, invoices. But not only that, there's also records and messages and potentially even images and videos or audio files or something like that with their related metadata, which is really, really, really important, but is often not used by organizations as they should, because they contain important information which you would need while you're working in your Salesforce environment. But since it's a little bit hard sometimes to access them, they lie untapped. And I want to show you today a way how we can change that. Let's first have a look at how Salesforce manages content. So you can store content, like you can store your quotes and you can store your statements in Salesforce. but it's really just a place where they can be stored. They're not managed properly, so you cannot audit the documents, you cannot search, you cannot do versioning, you cannot share them with users outside of Salesforce. You can also not apply any records management capabilities to these documents. Archiving is not part of it. So you're really creating another information silo where these documents can be found. And another information silo is, for example, your email. If you have any important information stored in any of your incoming emails, then only you will be able to access them. Or when they are stored on your hard drive, same thing. You can only access them, nobody else can. When they're in SharePoint, they are accessible by other users, but it's a little bit tedious to access them while you're working in Salesforce. And users who do not have any Salesforce licenses, they cannot use this content at all. So there's a little bit of a disconnect then between the users who do work in Salesforce and others who do not, and also your customers who certainly don't have any access to these documents. And that's where our content services come into play. So the content services is a set of products, and you can obviously pick and choose what you would like to use. A set of products that help you in that area of content management. The first one is a tool called Intelligent Capture, which captures paper documents for you. So it can scan documents, it can tap into your email and extract documents from an email or from a fax, perform OCR, and store them in the right place in another of our solutions. And that other of our solutions is called Extended ECM for Salesforce. So it extends enterprise content management into Salesforce. That's really the idea of the word. And that caters for many things. It caters for document management. So you can store your documents, you can open your documents, edit your documents, you can download them, you can search, you can apply metadata, you can apply permissions, and it does that in the Salesforce environment. Other areas of interest are the records management and the archiving. They're also both part of Extended ECM. And that means controlling the life cycle of your content is important. That's what the records management component does. And the archiving component makes sure that it's all stored in a tamper-proof area where you cannot lose anything. Then we have a solution in the area of collaborating and sharing with users who are externally or who are internally but do not have access to Salesforce. That tool is called Core Share. And last but not least, another tool called Core Signature allows you to send contracts, for example, out to your vendor or to your customer, and you get them to sign the document electronically rather than having to print them, sign them, scan them, and send them back to you. So we can do all of that in a much more professional way. And what do these content services actually get you as benefits? So when you capture documents, let's say from paper documents, and you store them in Extended ECM, we perform OCR on these documents, and that gives you the possibility to actually search for that content. Otherwise, if you scan something and store it, you cannot search for what is written inside the document. And by capturing them and performing OCR, you can actually do this. So we can automate your paper-intensive process by scanning and OCRing them. The document management avoids things like, where did I actually store that document? And has anybody changed the document and stored it somewhere else? And I don't know which one is the latest version of it. How do I find it? That is all catered for by the document management capability. And the records management and the archiving, they just give you security that you don't have to worry about things like, where do I store it? And is the life cycle of that document actually guaranteed? Do documents get automatically deleted after the end of its life cycle? And that is all taken care of in the background. So you don't have to worry about it. We set that all up for you, or Konica Minolta sets that all up for you when we introduce the solution to you. So now let's have a look into how can we share better with the different stakeholders. And we have to differentiate between your sales and services team who are working within Salesforce. So we want to automate their process as much as possible. But there are also other users in other departments who do not have access to Salesforce. So we can have a look in how do we actually automate the backend process for these people. And last but, oops, that was the wrong button. Last but not least, we want to have a look at your external stakeholders, your partners, customers, vendors, and we can have a look how we can automate their processes. And so you can see this image that we see here in the middle is kind of a 3-layered cake. So I will talk about each layer during the next few slides of my presentation. And you can see in the top right corner which layer we're actually talking about. So at the moment, we're at the bottom one, the sales and service process. So these departments in sales and services who work inside of Salesforce, and they need to access contracts, they need to access orders, quotes, but also things like statements or just emails that contain important information. And the way we help these users with their day-to-day work is that we give them a possibility inside their Salesforce environment to access content that is related to the object that they're currently looking at. At the moment, we can see here on the screen an account. The account is called Global Trade AG, and you can see this one tab which says Documents, and that is where you have access to all the documents that are stored against that specific account, and you can open the documents. You can store new documents by just dragging and dropping them from the desktop or storing them from your email, for example. And everybody has access to these documents according to their permissions, obviously. And so this is the single source of truth where you find everything that is related to your account. So there's no need anymore to worry about, or did I store that somewhere else, or where could it be? It's all in here. There's no need to swivel chair and log into Extended ECM on another screen, or to log into SharePoint or look on your file share. You find everything right in here where it belongs to. And we can provide this kind of environment, which we call, by the way, a workspace. We can provide this workspace not only for accounts, but we can also provide it, for example, for an opportunity. You can see that here, that Documents tab contains a folder structure, which looks different from the one that we just saw, because an opportunity just have different needs and may have different folders and folder names where you can store your content. And there are many other business objects like a material or a product or a claim or a case that we can also provide these workspaces for. And in case you are interested in how does it actually look on my mobile device, can I have access to that workspace there as well? Yes, you can. You can see in the bottom right corner, bottom left corner, that workspace icon, and when you click on it, you will be presented with the folder structure. And here as well, you can open documents, you can edit documents if you have the right tools on your iPad or on your phone. And you can even take photos and store them directly into a specific folder. Good, so this was the bottom part of the cake, the sales and service departments. Now let's have a look at the back office users. They do potentially not have access to Salesforce. So how can we help them to gain access to this content? Let's have a look at an example process. That's an engineering process where a company is creating a specific product for their customers. And that whole process that starts on the left-hand side in Salesforce with a potential campaign. You may get a few leads, you generate these leads inside of Salesforce, you then convert the leads into an opportunity, you send quotes out to your customers, you receive a sales order, kick off an engineering project, and then produce something, deliver it to your customers, perform service, and later support. And each one of these different steps is performed in either Salesforce or in something else. It could be SAP, it could be Oracle or Dynamics. You may want to do something in Microsoft Project, or you use Microsoft Teams to collaborate between your team members in an environment. So lots of different end user business applications that are in play here. And during each one of these steps of that process, there are lots of different documents being created internally or externally. You receive them or you send them out, and they all need to be stored against a separate business object. So that's not always an account or an opportunity. That could be a campaign workspace or a sales order or a product workspace. And we automatically create these workspaces as soon as the corresponding business object is created in Salesforce or in SAP. And you have then the possibility to store all these documents, and you have access to these documents in a similar way that we saw the screenshots earlier. Let me show you in the next slide how that actually looks. You can have access to these workspaces also from other leading business applications. And here are some examples. In the top left corner, we can see how you can store an incoming email or an email that you have sent into a specific folder of the workspace. Top right, you can see how you access the same workspace from SAP Fiori or the SAP GUI. In the bottom left corner, you have access to the workspace within Teams. So you can create these teams and you can add a workspace of one or several business objects. In this case, we can see the customer, but we could also add opportunities or cases into the same team as well. And in the bottom right corner, as we saw it earlier, the user interface, how does that look from Salesforce? And last but not least, let's talk about automating your customer engagement. So you want to, or you may want to, give access to at least a part of that workspace, a folder or a document that is sitting in there, to an external user, to a customer or a vendor, and may want to collaborate with them on that document before it reaches its final version. Or you just may want to give them possibility to look at their statements or their contracts or something like that. And the tool or the tools that we can use for this are called Core Share, which allows you to share folders or documents from within Salesforce directly with your customer. And I'll show you that later during my demonstration. And as I mentioned earlier, if there's a need to electronically sign a document, you can do that with a tool called Core Signature. And that integrates nicely into Core Share, and it also can be used from within extended ECM when you send a workflow off, and at the end of the workflow, like an approval workflow for a contract, for example, and at the end of that workflow, you can send it off for different users to sign the document. Good, so let's have a look how that solution looks in action. So I've recorded my demonstration earlier this week, so that I don't have to bother with potential inactivities and not being able to reach the demo system. So I'm going to show you how that solution actually looks, and we'll talk about a case study afterwards. So we start the demonstration in an account in Salesforce. The account is called Maria James, and we can see all the different parts of that account. And you can also see the documents and the workspace tabs here. Let's have a look how the workspace actually looks in in Extended ECM within Salesforce. So you can see here that we have the workspace for Maria James, since we are currently in her account. And you can see several different tabs. The overview tab is currently active, but there are lots of other different tabs as well. And we can add and remove tabs as you like. What we see here is the account team. So these are the users who work with you on that account, Maria James. And they're usually Salesforce users. So we automatically map these users from Salesforce. As soon as that account is created, we map these users and give them access to that workspace. The customer data on the right-hand side is usually Salesforce data. So that customer data here on the right-hand side is actually Salesforce data. So that allows you to view data in the workspace. You don't have to look into Salesforce what the data actually is. But that could also be additional metadata from Extended ECM as well. And then you can add comments to that account. You can add the account as a favorite, or you can define any reminders if you want to do that. But the most important part is actually that folder structure here. And that is exactly the same folder structure. If I would click onto the Documents tab, it displays the folder structure that is specific for an account. So it has certain folder names, and there could be normal folders like this one. There could be specific email folders. When you click onto them, you will see the emails, and you have certain tabs in that folder, certain columns in that folder that give you information about who sent that email, to whom, the subject of the email, and so on. And there are also related business workspaces, this icon down here that allows you to navigate between workspaces. And we will see that later, what I mean by that. There's also an external sharing folder. So if you want to share documents with an external user, you can do that. And it's also something that I'm going to show you later. Then you have the possibility to view the folder structure in a grid kind of view, and you can search for documents either within the workspace, or if you use that search button up here within several workspaces. And when we look at the results, we can see there are about 8 documents that meet the search criteria, which was meeting. And we are searching with Extended ECM usually in the name of the file, in the metadata, or in the content of the file. So if you see files here listed here that do not have the word meeting in the name, that is normal. We found the word meeting in the content of that information, of that document. And in case you have like 80 or 100 different search results, you may want to filter them down to a reasonable amount of documents. And you can use this filter capability here on the left, very similar to Amazon and eBay. You can use certain criteria like what type of document are we talking about? Am I searching for when have they been stored? Who stored the document? But you can also include specific metadata like where is that customer located, or which products did this customer buy, or which age group does that customer have. So just depending on the search that you actually perform, you can limit the criteria down to what you're actually interested in. And I'm now going to click onto Microsoft Word, which means I only want to see the Word document here. And you can see that limits it down to 1 document. That green button indicates the records management capabilities. So we can see if I would click on that, what the records management settings are. But for now, we will just try to edit that document. And when I click on edit, it will load Word Online or Word on-premise, whatever you are using. And you can start doing changes to the document and change that meeting note. And we can see automatically Word Online saves the document. And when I close the document, I can then have a look at the different versions that have, or the different new version that has been created. In order to do that, I have to click onto the Properties button, and that allows me to view a few more things before we go into the version. The General tab just shows me when has the documents been stored and by whom and so on. The records management settings are visible in the records management tab. So here I can see everything that is related to the life cycle of that document. And that is, as I said earlier, something that you as an end user do not have to worry about. We set that up, or Konica Minolta sets that up together with your records manager so that it is being taken care of automatically. That means in order to make this available for all the documents that are stored, we usually inherit this kind of settings from the folder or from the workspace you store a new document into, so that that is automatically applied to every new document. And then the last tab is the customer tab, which is just a set of metadata from Salesforce that is applied automatically to each new document, and also updated in case you update that in Salesforce. Let's have a look at the versions. So that document has been sitting here for a while already, and that new version that I have just created is stored here as a second version. So I can always access an older version if I want to do that, but whenever somebody edits that document, it will always jump to the last version. Good, let's have a look at another folder and how do we actually open documents. It's very simple. You just click on the document and it will come up in our viewer and display the PDF document in here. If it would be a Word document, you click on it, you may want to see that in Word, but usually we use our internal viewer for that purpose. If you wanted to add a totally new document, you can do that, dragging and dropping it from the desktop, or you can store it from an email as well. And that will store that document into that folder that I have dragged that document onto. And here we can see that life insurance policy is sitting there, and we'll come back to that document later. If I wanted to share my content with an external user, I can do that. I can click onto the share icon, and that will give me the possibility to add an email address. I'm just using my own email address here. On the right-hand side, I can define an expiry date. If I want that core share to automatically expire in a week or in a month's time, add some messages and choose the correct user from the list. And then I have the possibility also to define what kind of access do I want to give my user. Do I want them to only be able to view the documents that are stored in that folder and not be able to change anything, not be able to add new documents or delete documents? Or do I want to give the user the collaboration capabilities? So it's kind of a read-write access. So you can add new documents, you can change existing documents, change the name of the documents. So this is what I define by choosing from that drop-down list. And on the right-hand side, I have the possibility to also delete that user if I don't want him to see this folder anymore. And then I press the share button, and that user is then invited by CoreShare to view that folder. Good, so that is all about generally how you navigate around in content, how you open content and add content. Let's create a new case. And we do that in Salesforce itself. So we have to add some information when I create that new case. So that has really nothing to do with open text and extended ECM. That is done in standard Salesforce. So I add a subject here, and what that does, it creates, when I click onto the save button, it creates that new case in Salesforce, and it automatically also creates a new workspace in the background. A new case workspace with the name that I have just given, the subject that I've just entered, questions about life insurance policy. And here I can see the documents and the workspace tab, and I can click onto that documents tab and view the folder structure, which looks different from the account that we looked up earlier. And I have the possibility now to add documents, emails, and so on. If I wanted to see the documents that are stored in the customer workspace, in the account workspace, I can do that as well. And I can see all the related workspaces that that case is related to. And that relationship is defined by Salesforce. So for example, you have a case workspace that is related to an account. We just saw that you can navigate into that account that we can see here, even though we're still in the case. So up here, we can still see we're in the case, but we can have a look at an account workspace. You may want to use the relationship from the case into a product or into a claim. That could also be a relationship that exists in Salesforce, and we would then provide you the possibility to navigate easily into these workspaces as well. And when we are now in that account workspace, we can go back into that supporting documents folder and view that life insurance policy that we stored earlier. Good, so that was all I wanted to show you from a demonstration perspective. I just have one more slide in that part of the presentation that I want to talk about. That is our case study, which has been created after successful implementation of extended ECM for Salesforce with a European consumer goods business who had a situation where they merged with other organizations, and they kind of inherited lots of different applications that needed access to documents, like their SAP system or a Salesforce system or a SuccessFactors system. And we provided them with the possibility to store all their documents, and they were talking about petabytes of storage that they required in extended ECM, and making sure that they have access to these documents from all the user interfaces that they needed. For example, from Salesforce, for example, from SAP, from SuccessFactors. And we hosted extended ECM in the cloud. That was another important factor for this customer, and gave them access to the documents regardless from which tool they were looking into the documents. Let's summarize what I have just talked about before we get into the questions. So driving customer success, that is something that we want you to do. And we achieve this by bringing the two worlds of data and content together to give you a possibility to have a 360-degree view of your customer or your vendor or your partner or whatever else you currently look at. So sales and services and marketing teams can all work together, and also other teams, in order to have access to the content and take advantage of that content that is stored in there. And so we've talked about the product called Extended ECM for Salesforce here in the middle. We have another tool, Extreme for Salesforce, that allows you to create customer communications or communications to other parties like vendors, using data that is stored in Salesforce and creating communication from templates that we provide or that we create together with you, and send them through different channels like email or potentially an SMS, or just provide them with something on your website. So this is what Extreme for Salesforce is used for, and media management at the bottom handles your video, audio, and image files in a much more professional way than Extended ECM. And you can then use it to build your campaigns. You can use these assets to put them into your campaigns very easily. Good, that was it from my end. Let's have a look whether there were any questions that you have raised during the session. I saw a few screens pop up, so there seem to be some questions.
There were, and thank you, Matthias, for your time. It was good. It was an excellent demo. It was really in depth. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So one of the questions, I think you covered it off a number of times, but we'll recap. So obviously we were talking more towards Salesforce, XECM for Salesforce, but this platform does also extend beyond just Salesforce. And I know you mentioned that a few times, but maybe just to clarify some of the platforms you can also connect with outside of Salesforce.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So Extended ECM is really just a platform. So we have productized enablers, as we call them, to different leading business applications, Salesforce being one of them, SAP being one, SuccessFactors, Oracle e-business suite, Microsoft Dynamics, Office 365 are others. But that's not really the end of it. Even if we do not have a productized integration into a leading business application, we can integrate into really anything, because Extended ECM has the interfaces to do that. So if you, for example, use a Workday system or you use an IBM Maximo system, we can integrate into these business applications as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Thanks for covering that one off. So there were a number of other questions, and if you've asked a question we don't get to it today, we will get somebody to follow up. But just a final question. So obviously we're all overwhelmed with the notion of digital transformation, and it can often be challenging as to where to begin, where to start. From what you're seeing, where do you think is a really good place just to pick up this subject and start working it? That's to Nick and to Matthias.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So, I mean, for me, first off, it's really starting to look to work with our partners who we skill up around not just the services around implementation, but obviously the discovery exercises that go along, that's able to pinpoint the best use of our software to maximize the revenue and the enablement to the business. So really for this, it's really reaching out to your Konica Minolta solution consultant. We will then work with KM around this process, and really then take on that journey to have an enterprise information management solution across the board.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So I think we're getting close to time, and we're all quite busy these days. So we're going to start to wrap up here. So thank you to Matthias and to Nick for the presentations. We really appreciate that. The demo was incredibly thorough. As you can see, it's a brilliant platform. I think now more than ever, as we move into hopefully post-COVID at some point, we need to move beyond just unlocking data and starting to unleash our data across the organization. I think one of the key challenges that I also have as the CIO of Konica is that we really have to leverage our existing investments in our platforms, so things like Salesforce, things like SAP, and to augment them with tools like XECM to extract more value and to extract those data assets. The value you can provide to employees, customers, and partners is exponentially larger by doing things like this. So again, it's definitely something on our radar as well. I think one of the other things that took away from that is information management. It's not something you can set and forget. It's really a practice that's ongoing, and I think a discipline that really involves people, process, and policy to a degree. So I think to really start to work through some of those things, to lean on people like OpenText and really some of our trusted advisors that we have and our expert people that we have in our professional services team. We're always ready for those chats. So really, again, we have some excellent people in our professional services team, and we'd love to get those people out to talk to our customers more and more. So if you do start to face these challenges and you really want to start that conversation, then please reach out to your Konica Minolta solution consultant or professional services, and we'll start to work through some specific use cases for you to start to build out what a strategic roadmap might look like in the information management space. So thank you again to everybody for joining. Thank you, Matthias. Thank you to Nick. We really appreciate you joining our Automate Content Management to empower your team. So thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Giving shape to ideas. Konica Minolta.